Okay, and lastly, we're going to talk about the title screens. Okay, it's always good practice to to start with some nice title screen, letting the player know what game it is, and giving any instructions. And you can have multiple screens for doing this, letting the player know what the goals are, how to move, anything else, anything of a backstory. So in the title screen here, again, show. This is just it, save the grail. I just threw this together very quickly, telling them to use the arrow keys rather than the WASD key or mouse. I mean, there's at least three principal ways of doing it. Mouse, WASD keys, or your arrow key saying use arrow, and press the space bar to start. So you can see here, again, my initialization, where it will go to the center or near the center, be this size. I had to increase it a little bit from when I brought it in. Again, I threw this together quickly in Photoshop. Clear any graphic effects because we're going to do a fade. Show and go to front. Go to the top layer because this thing can have layers of pieces behind pieces. And then it's going to wait. So it's going to wait for the space bar. And when the space bar is pressed, then it's going to do this cycle here, this little piece of making it visible. So from invisibility, it's going to, it's going to go the opposite way. It's visible, and it's going to count up to 100. 100 is invisible, 0 is visible, so it's going to go invisible, and just a little thing here, and that weight just keeps it, slows it down. And then go back 10 layers. It's invisible, but I'm going to be careful, tell it to go to the back of the stack and hide itself. Technically, I don't need them, but it's a good practice. And then tell it to start the game. Remember, we're starting the game from start game, and again, stop this so this won't get re-triggered. Should you hit the space bar, it won't follow things up. And again, these are just so I can see what else is going on. As I say, you'll often find fragments of code sitting around. It's either something that someone's not sure if they want to throw out, or they just have there as switches, so I can bring this up and go back and forth. So again, it's just good to have, and I do this one last because sometimes you're not even sure what the game's about or how the game's going to run. So this is my last thing. I get going with the main game, and when I'm done at the end and the pressure's off, then I'll figure out kind of, what are the themes, what's going on, what do I want it to look like, and anything else. These things are often made up on the fly. I might decide to use spacebar for a jump or a shooting or something else, and so you might make this press Z or Q or some other combination to start it. So I don't want to tie that up in the beginning until I kind of know what I'm doing with my game. But that's really all there is to it. Those are all the parts. One last thing I forgot to mention earlier, I'm going to stick this in at the end, is comments. There is, if you right click here, you can add, cleanup just arranges these in a stack better. Add comment. And when you add a comment, you can bring up this little notepad and you can write anything you want here, such as this stops a false start. Okay, and you can write quite a bit here and then just wrap it up to this part, and then you can bring this up and link this in here, and you'll see I've got a little line here, so even if I do move this, it's going to move with it. Comments, and then if you need to, you can get the whole thing. These are good. Comments help you out a lot by reminding you what things, or leaving them as notes for later. If you're going to be gone for a day or so, you get back, where was I, what was I going to do, and these help you out and helps other people read your code. What does this do? What does that do? And again, if you go back to your code a couple days later, or a couple months later, you might not remember why you did things or what things are doing, especially if you use a lot of crazy abbreviations. That's why you should always use what they call meaningful identifiers, things that really spell out and tell you what things do. But comments are good, and a well-commented program is very easy to work with, both for yourself and for others.